This passage, a brief prelude to a substantial one-movement piece, can be thought of as an elaboration of the A major triad with which it begins and ends. Over the course of the passage, notes are added one at a time until the aggregate of all 12 notes is complete. Each stage of the accretion of notes around the central A major triad provides a different and evolving context for that central harmony. A is the centric tone. A is supported by the perfect fifth E. C sharp completes the A major triad. And now the notes of the triad begin to attract upper neighbors. B flat is the upper neighbor to A. F is the upper neighbor to E. D is the upper neighbor to C sharp. F sharp completes one semitone cluster, and it also completes hexatonic 1-2, only the E does not belong to that collection. C is the lower neighbor note to C sharp and completes a second semitone cluster. G sharp is the lower neighbor to A, and now our third semitone cluster is complete, and so is the 9-note enneatonic collection. D sharp is lower neighbor to E and fills in a remaining gap. It also initiates the augmented triad that is the complement of the enneatonic collection, D sharp, G, and B. In phase 11, one more gap is filled, and finally, the final gap is filled and the aggregate is complete. Treating the series of new notes as a basic structure for the passage, we can see the extent to which the piece is conceived as a succession of major, minor, and augmented triads. The series begins with A major, A, E, and C sharp. The C sharp is then the first note of a B flat minor triad, D flat, B flat, and F. Overlapped with a B flat major triad, B flat, F, and D. The overlap continues with D minor, and D major. Eventually we get to an A flat major triad, and finally an augmented triad. The complexities of the musical surface often present these triads partially or weakly, but at the same time suggest additional triads, notably an A minor triad near the end. These triads relate to each other in familiar ways via L, P, and slide, and can thus be traced on the space known as cube dances, a long voyage away from home and back again. Large harmonic regions are defined by two of the four hexatonic collections, and by the enneatonic collection that subsumes them. Within that larger harmonic environment, the triads progress from a starting point on A major, via slide, to a different hexatonic collection. Within that hexatonic via P and L, via T6 to yet another hexatonic collection, lying outside the prevailing enneatonic, and then back to A minor via slide, and A major via P. While the triadic progression is a primary harmonic layer, the triadic unfolding leaves other sets in its wake, including especially forms of set class 014. For example, when the B flat enters in measure 5, it creates an 014 with A and C sharp. And if you can retain that B flat in your ear, it creates another 014 with C sharp and D in measure 8. And then the C sharp and D link up with F to create a third form of 014. And so on, a network of 014s. And like the triads, these 014s can be mapped on a modified cube dances where hexatonic cycles of 014 are created from chains of L, by which I mean invert around the semitone, and R, by which I mean invert around the minor third. We start on a 014 that combines A and C sharp from the A major triad with a dissonant B flat. We then progress in a purposeful hexatonic way to F, F sharp A via a chain of L and R. At that point, we leap via R slide to a different hexatonic collection. And then end on A, C, C sharp. The first 014 combined A, C sharp with B flat. The concluding 014 combines A, C sharp with C. After a long journey, we find ourselves back roughly where we began.